All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to IGTV. This is our monthly update from John Phelps over at Axis Communications. And John's going to be talking about a white paper that we're going to distribute later today about the total cost of ownership of IP versus analog solutions. And John has mentioned that 14 cameras is sort of like the break point. So, John, take it away.
Sure. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. The white paper is actually a second part, a second analysis that was conducted first in the spring of 2007 by LUSAX, which is a research group at the Lund University in Sweden. And then again in the spring of 2010, they did a new analysis. And the discovery was that in the course of those 3 years, the break-even point has pretty much gone down by more than half. In 2007, it was actually about 32 cameras where the IP solution, truly took over and made a lot more sense financially. But now it is at a 14 camera solution where it's truly paying for itself. And the way they accomplished this analysis was that they actually came up with a fictitious system that needed to be designed in a small retail environment, and they actually had three different amounts of cameras. They had a 14 camera solution, a 25 camera solution, and I think a 17 camera solution, or no, excuse me, 14, 25, and 40 camera solution. And what they did was to make it fair across, the analog and the IP realm. They stayed away from those sweet spots where analog and IP usually are much more comfortable. Analog being, the 1632 type channels where DVRs are formatted, and then obviously IP always having that one better. It's easier to add a 17th camera in an IP solution, so they really purposely stayed away from those sweet spot numbers. And they developed this fictitious retail environment, and they contacted about 30 different integrators in the U.S. That are currently big players doing both analog and IP solutions. And they gave them all this information and had everything laid out, including cable run lengths and things like that, so that it was truly fair across the board. And what they discovered is that the IP solutions in a true greenfield install, the break-even point was at 14. It was about 11% less than an analog solution, and it actually grew to up towards about 30% at a 40 camera installation over the analog solution. And the biggest reason for that is actually storage. Even though the analog DVR solution was using H.264 as a video compression format as well, the DVRs themselves, that actual hardware and storage combination, was actually quite a bit more expensive. So even though IP cameras may have cost 30 to 40% more per camera than an analog camera, specifically the individual components, the overall solution, primarily driven by storage, was actually much less expensive. And it's pretty well detailed in the white paper that we will be able to disseminate later today for you. But the different solutions, they had a 14 camera solution, as I mentioned, which included 2 outdoor cameras and 12 indoor. The 25 camera solution had 16 indoor and 9 outdoor. And then the 40 camera solution had 19 fixed indoors, 2 indoor PTZs, and then 2 outdoor fixed cameras. So they were a real consensus among all the integrators that those were pretty practical solutions, in that size factor. So they were pretty realistic, and the specifics for the system were again very real to true life, where we were using. Obviously, in the analog solution, 480 TV lines, 4 CIF resolution. With the IP solution, just because of the nature of the camera's capabilities, the minimum for image scenario was SVGA. So you had the 800 by 600 resolution, so quite a bit more resolution, which allowed you to get a lot more picture quality out of it. And then obviously with the analog solution, there was a power supply powering all the cameras, which added a little bit of cost to that infrastructure. With the IP solution, it was all PoE, which basically reduced cost a little bit because that's built into the switch, and then no extra wiring there required. And as I mentioned, the DVR/storage solution on the analog side added cost. Those boxes can be upwards of $10,000-$12,000 more expensive than the same number of PC-based server software in the IP realm. And that's really where some of those cost differences came from. Let me just check my fact here real quick. The real, as I mentioned, the real cost breakdowns, as I mentioned, the cameras can be more expensive, quite a bit more in general, and that can add to about, or not add to, but factor into about 25% of the total cost of the solution, which is a pretty significant amount. But when you look at the analog side of the house, that storage cost can actually be upwards of 40 to 50% of the total solution. So it is a wash there.
That would balloon it out then, right, John?
Absolutely, yep, absolutely, yep.
Yeah, hey, John, could you go over one other thing? Because you lost me at one area here.
Sure.
You in the beginning, you were talking about greenfield solutions?
Oh, sure, yes. What that means is a brand new installation with no infrastructure in place at all. So you're basically going into a facility and having to provide the entire infrastructure, whether it be the analog solution with coax and power cabling, or network cable runs for the IP solution. So it's really just a brand new installation with nothing at all in place, and you are required to do it all.
Okay.
And that was the most effective way, obviously, to run this solution, because without being able to really get in and say, all right, this equipment exists in place, it's easier for them as a tool in this analysis to say, okay, you're going in and you have to provide absolutely everything. And it just made it more fair across the board.
Yeah, I hear you. So you had 30 separate integrators taking a look at this, huh?
Yeah, there was about 30 different integrators total. Actually, it's probably about 35 total. I'm not sure the absolute number that finally turned in a bid, so to speak, on the proposal. I do know that each of the ones that supplied a bid supplied 6 separate bids because of the 3 different size installations and both analog and digital. So there was 3 of each.
Okay.
So of those 6, they averaged them all out, and the cost analysis shows, though the cameras being more expensive, the solution itself as a whole was actually cheaper on the IP side. It's a pretty interesting white paper to take a look at.
Yeah, it will be. It sounds like it'll be a fascinating read, because it would appear that even the PC industry, as well as the camera industry, everybody is benefiting from the reduced cost of storage.
Oh, absolutely. That's such a huge factor in our favor in IP. Being able to effectively use megapixel or HD TV cameras and get more storage out of them due to better compression and less expensive storage nowadays. It's just it's a wonderful thing for our industry. You can record in HD format if you want to, and use the same amount of space you could a few years ago with just a VGA or even 4SIF image on an analog camera. So
yeah, well, things certainly have turned around in that area, and now that some of the cameras will be able to do a very significant onboard storage as well, as opposed to server-based storage or SAN or something of that nature. So that is also a very, very significant breakthrough in the industry.
Absolutely, and that could factor in if you were to look at this white paper analysis and factor out even the PC storage or the PC server itself, and just make use of the camera's onboard storage, even as it stands now with a 32 gig SDHC card in each of the cameras, without a PC behind it for maybe another $5,000 or $6,000 with software and licensing. There's an even cheaper installation practice. So
yeah.
You can even look at it and say, all right, maybe now it's going to be 8 channels of IP is going to really be the break even, or even 6 now, where we can really compete with the little BJ specials or Costco specials, DVR and 4 cameras.
Yeah, I'm laughing because I think it is humorous, but that's what's happening to the industry right now. The
Absolutely.
whole industry is evolving. As you know, as I may have been put up on the chat before, as the chipsets evolve. All right, and you can put more and more and more out there. The functionality of these cameras, as well as the storage capability, either on the camera or on the network, either one, all right, is going to revolutionize a lot of what's going on. I think it's also going to have an impact on the false positives and the false negatives that are going
Absolutely.
on out there. This is going to take time, but I think as you'll see it, the industry is going to just slowly tighten things up as these chipsets improve with speed and capability.
Oh, absolutely.
I think
Absolutely.
that's absolutely amazing. Anything else going on the particular area?
In this, not so much this. We actually did just have our annual sales kickoff meeting in Axis, and we saw some interesting new products coming out. One coming out pretty shortly, a very low light camera based on new chipset technology. But all our new chipsets are going to be start. We're going to see them in our new products, this year. And again, as you alluded to, that's going to increase the analytics capability on board the cameras, and potentially give us higher resolution capability. Because we can work with that compression a little bit better and
Yep.
more infinitely. So I think we'll see. Just from an internal perspective, or from an Axis perspective, better capable cameras to really drive the nail in the coffin of the smaller analog solutions, especially where we can start really competing, as I mentioned, maybe even the 4 to 6 camera market.
Yeah, and that's an interesting area because I think you're going to see not less proliferation but more proliferation as as cameras are used for a variety of different things, and this is going to take a certain amount of education in the industry. As you may know, John, I come from the law enforcement industry,
Yeah, absolutely.
and I'm constantly looking at it from that perspective. When I speak to Anthony Hackett over at IMEDIS, he constantly reminds me that cameras are good for law enforcement, good for protective services and things of that nature, but cameras are also used in marketing of products, services,
Oh, absolutely.
people, and things of that nature. So, I could just see a camera being put on a specific sale of tires, or you name the product, and all of a sudden, companies are starting to get this instantaneous feedback. They're calling up, retailers and saying, "Move it to aisle 13 quick."
Absolutely, and Metis is one of the leaders in the analytics market with even that in mind. I guess you could call it the marketing type of analytics, as you mentioned. With being able to look at a queue somewhere around a sales cap and say, look, there's one person all day watching this, or everybody's watching it, so it's succeeding or not succeeding. So it's a very useful tool for marketing and for sales as well. And even you can do all sorts of different analytics, and the Metis has a lot of different capabilities with their analytics that you can do queuing for. You can make sure nobody's waiting too long in a line, for instance, even so.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things. We were talking about Stop and Shop, and
Hmm.
at the end and head caps of each aisle, how companies literally, they spend thousands and thousands of dollars, putting their product up for sale on
Yep.
on the head of an aisle. Not to mention the shelf space cost and all of that.
Right.
So to be able to get a video analytic camera on that and kind of look and see of how people are reacting to product, that's a big deal.
Right, and the best part about it is that because that analytic essentially lives on the camera, you don't need a specialized server running in the back room. You just plug that camera in with that analytic, program the analytic, and basically it's a standalone marketing tool.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely amazing. Hey, listen, John, we're just about up on our time.
okay, great.
I want to thank you for coming on the program this
My
week, and we look
pleasure.
forward to talking to you next month.
Absolutely, and you take care.
All right, bye now.
Bye bye.